This is huge. Surprising new draft development for the Rams as we are just days away from the draft on how this will shape their entire offense moving forward for this season. Welcome back to another episode of Rams Digest. I am your host, Joshua Finehirsh. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell. We are 60 subscribers away from hitting 3,000, and our goal is to hit 3,000 before the draft on Thursday. Please subscribe as we have some big plans coming for you. Potentially something big on draft night, so make sure you're subscribed so that you do not miss any Rams Digest content coming forward before the draft, after the draft, and for the season. Now to today's huge topic. The Rams will be looking to trade back based off of Chad Reuter's new mock draft on NFL.com, and the player will shock you. Something I personally did not see coming. And now let's get into that. And the Rams have 8 picks in this upcoming NFL draft, and a few needs to address at various times. The number 26 pick is a prime position to move up or down if the Rams want to be more targeted with their approach. NFL.com analyst Chad Reuter unveiled his final 7-round mock draft with less than a week to go until the draft kicks off in Green Bay on Thursday. In it, he had the Rams making a bold trade back to pick up a second-round pick, and that's key, the second-round pick, because the Rams do not have a second-round pick in this draft as it stands, as I said on my last video, based on the trade-up last year to land Braden Fisk to pair him with his boy, Jared Verse. And both of them balled out. So that trade made perfect sense. And who will the Rams trade for? Drum roll, please. You will see it right here. The Rams trade back to number 32 with the Eagles to take Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden. The Rams move back 6 spots with the Philadelphia Eagles here after trading the number 26 and 90 picks, 90th pick being the Rams' next pick in the 3rd round, for number 32 from the Eagles and the Eagles pick 64 at the end of the 2nd round. This maintains a first-round pick for the Rams and allows them to add a second-round pick. Even though it's only at the end of the 2nd round, it's still massive to have that second-round pick because there's always somebody on draft night who you don't expect to be available late in the 2nd round that always ends up getting there. You know, I remember the year the Rams drafted Cam Akers. I really wanted them to take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame, and he nearly fell to the Rams at that pick. And even Jonathan Taylor, that same draft, was only a couple picks away from being a Ram. So you really, truly never know who's going to be available on draft night. And looking at the draft order here, as you can see, Rams are at 26, Eagles are at 32. You only go down 6 spots, so you're not really missing out on someone who you would rather have. In this scenario, this is where the Rams are only looking to draft wide receiver in the 1st round, which I'll get to my take in a minute. And make sure to like this video if you believe the Rams need to draft a difference-making wide receiver for the future to be next to Puka Nacua. And now looking here LA takes wideout Luther Burden to round out their receiver core. Burden was highly productive early in his college career, but fell off a bit in 2024. His route tree aligns favorably with the Rams' offense, which is a good sign if he's added to the roster. Yeah, and if we look at the stats, over 1,000 yards, 2nd-team All-American in 2023 with 9 touchdowns. But coming into 2024, 675 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2nd-team All-Big, 2nd-team All-SEC, I should say, there at Missouri. With that, it's a bit concerning as Luther Burden was looked at as a top 10 pick coming into this season by many people, including myself, before last year's stats drop-off, which I don't believe is all on him. That's part of the scheme as well. It's very hard to replicate having 1,000-yard seasons. Burden has good size, 6 feet, 206 pounds, good size for a receiver. Ran a 4.41 140 at the NFL Combine, so he has good speed for the position as well. Sure hands, someone who will make a difference to this Rams offense sooner rather than later. They do have Tutu, which is what Chad Reuter said, that Tutu will play more than Burden in this upcoming season. However, for the future, Burden could be a star next to, Puka Nacua. And looking at that, this is what Burden will have to work with once he gets to the Rams, as we see Puka Nacua's stats here. 11 games last year, 106 targets, 79 receptions, only 4 touchdowns, just missed 1,000 yards on the year. Receiving-wise, he had a total of over 1,000 from scrimmage. 12.5 yards per catch, as Puka nearing his 24th birthday before the season starts as well. 94 yards per game, actually led the NFL. He just only played 11 games, so it was impossible for him to lead in total receiving yards. And with Burden, having Puka get the attention of the number one corner or number one defensive back on pretty much every single possession, because of that, Devontae Adams would get the number 2 defensive back. A Burden-Atwell combination at the wide receiver 3 position would be pretty deadly. I mean, you got Atwell able to run all over the field on those deep balls, and he can work Luther Burden in slowly. I could definitely see that being a really nice tandem here. Now, for me, it's something that creates a bit of a weird dynamic with the offense that we will get into soon as we look at Luther Burden's strengths as a player right here. Early acceleration to bypass defenders and top-end speed to stay ahead, which is super important as a wide receiver. Have that top-end speed. Be able to blow past defenders. He, eludes route redirection to maintain vertical momentum, which is super important. So that basically means that when a corner or a defensive player gets in front of him, he doesn't get fazed by it. He's really just able to adapt right there super easily and not lose his route. He has natural playmaking instincts. He operates with well-timed hands, which is really good. Body control and ball skills make the difficult look easy, which is great. And eliminates pursuit angles while the ball is in his hands, which is great, which means he has great control of the ball. Everything about him is just great. Like the video if you think Luther Burden is great. However, we do need to take a look at some weaknesses, as every player going into the draft will have some things to work on before entering the league. Some weaknesses, he's a bit leggy on his short routes, and he can be inconsistent finishing his routes. Sometimes he doesn't finish the best. And it does say here that 75% of his career catches were targeted inside of 10 yards per Pro Football Focus. PFF obviously gives amazing analytics for every single stat. And that is not a good sign there, that he doesn't really run a lot of deep routes. As we know with Sean McVay, he loves to really change the routes so often in games and make those, a bit more complex. And if Luther Burden doesn't have that experience running those complex routes, it can be very, very difficult for him to adjust to, a new style of play. And my take on all this, as I'm sure you've all been waiting for, is I like Luther Burden. He was my wide receiver 1 going into the season. He's now my wide receiver 3. In the mock draft I referenced a couple videos ago, I had him going to the Texans at 25. And Luther Burden is a Ram. It seems like his rookie year he wouldn't do too much. And for a first-round receiver or a first-round adjacent receiver, as Luther Burden seems to be, I like to see those players get, 40, 50 targets first year, have 35, 40 catches. Because he's not going to be, like a Justin Jefferson or a Malik Neighbors type of impact immediately. But I don't believe it's beneficial to his development to put him at wide receiver 4, especially considering we've seen him be a second-team All-American. We've seen him get 1,000 yards. His pro comp is actually Chris Godwin, who's somebody I love. I'm a big Chris Godwin guy. Got him really late in my fantasy draft this past season. Unfortunately, he's coming off of that gruesome ankle injury, obviously. But for Burden going to the Rams, it doesn't make too much sense from his perspective, from his camp, because he won't get a lot of targets year 1. And from the Rams' perspective, their biggest needs, in all of our opinions most likely, based on the comments from last video. Again, thank you so much for your comments on my Tyler Warren video. Really appreciate it. And based on those, a lot of you were saying corner, linebacker, offensive line, and tight end are the top needs for the Rams. And I agree. Those are the top needs for the Rams, which is why a receiver in the first round doesn't really make too much sense for them when you already have Puka and Devontae. You got Kyren Williams. You got Tyler Higbee. All people who can catch the ball. Blake Corum's going to be healthy coming into year 2. So we'll see how he adds into the offense. It's an interesting dynamic adding another wide receiver in there. I don't mind the fact of them going wide receiver later on in the draft, though, if they decide to go for, let's say, an Isaiah Bond, which I've seen mocked out of Texas in the 3rd round. I think that's a great pick. Get him in the 3rd round. He can basically be your Tutu replacement, as Tutu is on a 1-year contract. But leave in the comments down below, do you believe that the Rams should draft Burden or a wide receiver this early in the draft, or a wide receiver at all in the draft? I'll be looking, I'll be responding, and I can't wait to have a nice discourse with you all. And that is all for this episode of Rams Digest. Make sure, remember, hit that subscribe button so you do not miss any of the big plans we have coming soon, any of the daily content coming at you. Road to the draft is almost over. Remember, like this video. I'll be looking at your comments. That's all for this episode of Rams Digest. I've been your host, Joshua Finehirsh. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.